sorry to come back on Solanke, obviously really key player here, and we haven't really seen him yet. Was there a bit of there's been a problem sort of diagnosing the issue?
No, I think sometimes okay, let's say you got a calf strain or hamstring or even ACL, very simple, very easy. Sometimes it's just a little bit more tricky. So this is a little bit more tricky without being a problem.
What is it? Is it a ligament thing?
No, it's inside the ankle.
Do you expect him back before the international break, for example?
I expect him back as soon as possible.
Because obviously, I mean, big player, and we haven't seen him, and we've sort of heard for a few weeks now, not a big thing, but I guess we're now a month and a half into the season, and we haven't really seen him.
I know, true, it's still not a big thing.
Let's talk about injuries more generally, because obviously I'm sure you know it was a big problem last season, and I think you said a few weeks ago there's something we need to look at. Have you and the medical staff sort of come up with a broad kind of plan as to how you think that can be solved? And the record so far has been pretty good, hasn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I think that was one of the big areas that we looked into when we came in, and I think I see it as like a holistic picture, because it's between the coaching department, the performance department, and the medical department. And it can't be like three departments not communicating to each other. It needs to be three constantly communicating back and forth. It's how we train, how well we train, and how we plan that. I think all that so far has been good. And as you said, touch wood, we haven't had any, any soft tissue or muscle injuries, which are the big ones that we would like to avoid. We have had an injury to Kolmoani that's like a dead leg contact injury. And then we have Dom miss kicking a ball. So two relatively unlucky ones. So can we nail and get on top of the soft tissue and muscle injury? Probably impossible to completely not have any of those injuries. But so far so good, and we were very aware of it.
So your mind is really mainly about kind of training.
I think it's workload in training. It's not how can you say too little. Definitely enough intense, because we need to train intense. We want to play intense. Then I think it's all about the planning. I think it's gym. I think it's recovery. I think it's a lot of bits.
Because it feels now, big picture in the game, like injuries are worth almost 10 points in the league, right? Like the teams that are cleanest in terms of injuries are the ones that finish high.
Oh, 1,000%. There's no. If we have plus 90% availability, so important.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The message from the club and from the Lewis family has been club not for sale, not for sale. That's been reiterated throughout, as you mentioned earlier. I suppose cynics might say, anyone who they would say that until suddenly it's sold, because you've put yourself into a stronger position, I suppose. You said you spoke to the Lewis family. Can you give fans sort of a bit more, not assurance, but from your dealings with them, the feeling of how invested they are in Spurs for the long term?
Very, very invested. 120% committed to the club. Really want to achieve something special. Want to build. Want to add. And again, I think I like the phrase of building layers, because you never go to the top. You can't jump 5 steps. That's impossible. So building layers, I think, is very important. I think that's also more organic and more sustainable over time. But they're very, very focused on do what they can to help the club and the team.
And just to change topic to Xavi Simons, you talked about the basis of the success so far this season has been getting that solid defensive structure, and now you're going to start to add the attacking element as the players start to gel. Xavi, in these last few games, has really started to show what he's about, his ability to pull the strings in midfield. At Brentford, you had Christian Eriksen, who was obviously a wonderful player here, took set pieces, was a great playmaker. Do you see a comparison there with Xavi, and what do you think he can bring to this team that we haven't seen so far once he's really up to speed?
I think he got that, how can you say, he got a few things, I would say. I like his composure in possession. So he, every single time he received the ball, seems like he got half a second more before he passed it or or to take players on. So I like that a lot. I think the way he also can see passes not many others are seeing, I think is important. And also the way he carries the ball forward, I think is a key thing. So I think those are the big things. And then of course he will arrive and he will score goals and all that. But I think those three things are key areas.
Is there a similarity with Christian in terms of mentality and ability?
Yeah, I think they're a little bit different. I think Christian was maybe even how can you say, they're both playmakers, different type of playmakers. I think now also I try to remember is a few. Of course, I had him when he was 17 or something now. So, but I think he was in a way a little bit deeper playmaker, and I think Eriksen's longer play was exceptional. I think when he was here outside the box, when he found Dele Alli in the box, those crosses, I think the balls in behind, I think it was exceptional. I think his finishing outside the box was exceptional for Eriksen. Where Xavi is maybe a little bit more in between lines, ball carriers, more 1v1 player than Eriksen, but both of them very good players.
And since you were asked about mental health earlier, I seem to remember at Brentford, was it Michael Caulfield, the psychologist, was a big part of Brentford. I don't know, Tottenham probably have psychologists, they've got a massive department, but why is that so important in football? And if they don't have something like that here, like Michael, would you look to bring someone?
Yeah, I think Michael Caulfield was and is a fantastic, important person for Brentford. I know he also does things a little bit different, and he's a big believer of that ability to talk and talk with people. And the best example is his bench at the Brentford training ground, where you sit and talk and you sit and interact. And I think that's just a lovely thing. I think that's for all of us. And what is the best thing? That's probably a chat with a loved one or with anyone, and anyone that actually asks you a question. How are you? Not always joking with British, but how are you? We always say I'm good, but no, really, how are you? And how's the family, or how's work? And maybe ask a few more questions that's just how are you? I think that can make the difference. And I think as psychologists, yes, very important, but I think we all have a responsibility to do that.
Some from Ian's question about, as a manager who you speak to, you said other coaches, and you said a leadership mentor. Can you just elaborate a bit more? Who do you speak to? Who are these other coaches, and who's this leadership mentor that you can chat to?
Yeah, and leadership mentor is an older chap in Denmark that I've known for years and used regularly the last 8 years, something like that. And that's more about leadership. Of course, if you have any, you have so many decisions and there's so many situations you need to deal with, but good to have another one to speak with. I think personally for me, my wife is very important to speak to about that, and of course also friends. And then I think then you also speak to some of the English coaches here. You can always use that. But I think the one I speak the most to is Kasper Hjulmand, is the former Danish manager that's now at Leverkusen, because we like grown up in the Danish system. I've been head coaches for many years, so he's a very good friend, and then he's the same time of job, and that you can really relate to some of the challenges we could have.
And just one final question, just on the same topic. People often talk about exercise being great for mental health for obvious reasons. I was watching your interview with Michael Carrick, and he talks about going runs around Richmond Park and around here in the morning. I suppose just to elaborate a bit more on what you think that does for you, what goes through your mind when you go for these early morning runs, what are you thinking about? Are you imagining the match, or are you thinking about your preparation ahead?
I think that definitely I'm a big believer of always love to do some exercise. So I do runs 3-4 times a week. Now I hope we will get a paddle court soon, Anthony. We need to get down and play a little bit. Because I think it just takes your mind away. Of course, when you're running, the mind can still go, but you just feel good after, and you always feel a little bit sorry for yourself when you're running, but in the end, it's good. If you play, let's say, paddle, or you do something, I think that's social thing in it is also good. I think probably the next exercise we're going to mention is probably a little bit more difficult to do, but when you're skiing, and I'm skiing, I love skiing. When you're on top of the mountain and you're going downhill quite quick. You cannot think about anything else that avoid crashing. Okay, so I think that's also give you that mental break. So I think exercise in general is good. I've done work with kids. I worked with kids and grown up with special needs. You know, just see sports being together just makes a difference. So, you know I'm in a head coach for Tottenham, one of the biggest clubs in the world, but I just love the game, and I just love to see when everyone is attacking, old people, kids, everyone. They just that's why it's such a big game.
Finish with Matt, please.
On Xavi again, he's only started a few games now, but big change for him coming to the club. I wondered how long you thought it might be until he sort of gets fully up to speed and produces his best.
I think it'd be relatively quick, but it's always a little bit difficult to guess about. I like what I've seen so far for him. I like the Brighton half an hour because he was arriving in some of the areas we wanted to, having 2 good chances. Could have set Richie out if not Lucas was not taking the pass away from him. But and I said the West Ham game I think was promising. I think there's also good moments against Doncaster where he's driving the ball forward. Setting up Wilson, setting up a few situations. So I think you'll just more and more. I think you're playing with new teammates. That relationship is important. So you need to understand when he's coming, he's actually and then I'm playing interfeeder. He was actually going away. But so that bit is important.
Obviously, like a new league and a new country as well, some new challenges. What are sort of maybe the adjustments you've been working with him in training to help with that?
I think the biggest adjustment is probably the intensity in the Premier League, and that's difficult to work with in training. Of course, we try to train with intensity when we train, but because we play quite a few amount of games, there's not many where we can have that bit. But when we can, we try to get intensity in. So I think for me, it's just for him to not adapt, but get used to more and more of that intensity.
And just one more on the owners again. They've obviously been more visible, particularly at matches recently. Do you think that's a positive in terms of maybe building a connection more with the fans than they had before?
Yeah, I think it's important to be visible. I think if you're an owner or you're a leader or you're something, I think it's important to be visible so people can see you. So I think it's positive.